Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I am your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 60 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I could not be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think can be really helpful to you and to your family and to your spouse and your children and to all of you that may be listening to this in the long term. I think everything that we talk about on this show can be really useful to you, and I think today is no different and may even be more so than a lot of previous episodes, because today we're going to talk about something that absolutely applies to everyone, and that is bouncing back from mistakes. We have all made mistakes, and we've all made mistakes financially. That is not up for debate. Whether it is a tiny mistake or a huge mistake, we have all made them. And today we're going to talk about the importance of getting back up from those mistakes and continuing to push forward and make the changes that we need to make in our lives to get to where we want to be in the long term. Before we get started though, go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, hit the thumbs up, leave me any feedback or questions or whatever comes to your mind during the course of this video. Leave that in the comment section down below. If you are listening to this on the podcast, on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then please go and subscribe there and leave me a review if at all possible. And then follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan. That's a really good follow. I post a lot of good stuff every day that I think can be really useful to you and helping you push forward and motivate you in your own financial life. And then lastly, if you need somebody as an accountability partner, if you need somebody that will help you get to where you want to get financially, that will push you along a plan, that will allow you to tell them all the things that you have going on in your life, and they will build a plan that is tailored to you, well, that's what I'm here for. That's what I can do for you. And all you have to do is go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can pick the financial coaching session type that would work best for you. And I think a lot of people can benefit from this particular service. And I do it remotely, so everything will be via Zoom. And nobody will be catching the coronavirus through this particular service that I'm offering. So go there if that's something you're particularly interested in. So first of all, who makes financial mistakes? Well, I said it a moment ago. All of us. We all make financial mistakes. And don't try to argue with that. We have all made a financial mistake or two, whether it is something as small as, messing up the budget, or, breaking the budget ever so slightly because you ate out one more time than you were supposed to that month, or whether it was financing a car for $40,000 that you shouldn't have, or buying a house that was too expensive. Everything ranging from really small to very large. Somebody has made that mistake, and you have made one of those mistakes, no matter where it is along that particular spectrum. And even I have made financial mistakes. I can speak to you with the confidence that I do about things and with the understanding about things, because I too have made financial mistakes. So the mistake that I made, and that I will always go back to, and that is something that was a huge learning experience for me, I took out student loans to get my undergrad degree. I didn't take out crazy amounts like you hear, but I mean, over $10,000 in student loans that I took out for my undergrad degree. And I know some of you are like, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to the amount I have. Well, taking out student loans still sets you back, because you still have to pay those things back. And so I did look at that, and I owned it. I had to take responsibility for the fact that I had made that decision and I had taken out that debt. And then I looked at it and I said, okay, well, I have this particular debt. It's not the end of the world. I can't shame myself for having this. I have to then motivate myself and allow the mistake that I made to motivate me to make a change and do something different. And then I got fired up and I was ready to reverse the problem. And so how do you reverse having debt? You pay the debt off. And so I got really intense about paying it off and did it as soon as I could. It took me less than 15 months from graduation in order to pay that debt off. And so it was something that it wasn't easy. It's not an insignificant amount of money, but it's something, if I could go back, I wouldn't do it again. And so I know a lot of you have these things where you can either look back and see a mistake that you made, or maybe you're right in the middle of it and you haven't dealt with the mistakes that you've made just yet. And we're going to cover all of those particular situations today and how you can go about changing your financial life in lieu of the mistakes that you've made. So first, let's talk about some of the common financial mistakes that can be made. The first is excessive spending, right? You can just be somebody who just spends way too much money. You're the budget breaker. You're the one who will go and just spend way more than you thought you would, or you'll go and spend money that you weren't supposed to spend, and that will break your budget, or you don't have a budget and you just spend out of control anyway. And so excessive spending is a big issue and can be a huge mistake because it can run up credit card debt, it can run up personal loans, it can not allow you to do the things that you need to do, like save and invest and pay off other debts. So it can really be something that holds you back and can be a big mistake. The second mistake kind of goes along with the first just a bit, but it is living on borrowed money. And so this would be like, running up credit card debt. And that's not just on, excessive spending, but on anything, right? Let's say you're just trying to keep up with the Joneses. And yeah, that would be some excessive spending, but let's say you're just trying to, show off and show that, you're better financially than what you really are. Well, you're going to live on borrowed money. You're going to live with credit cards. You're going to finance cars. That's a big one that almost everybody does, but shouldn't be done. People finance vehicles, but that's living on borrowed money. And then taking payday loans, that's living on borrowed money. And we've talked about why that is so dangerous as well. And so that living on borrowed money is a big mistake financially that you can make. And then overspending on your home. We talked about this just recently. We talked about this in one of last week's videos about not being house poor. If you overspend on your home and your house payment or your mortgage payment is too much of your income as a percentage, then you're going to struggle to make any headway. So that's a financial mistake that you can easily fall into. And then going to school on student loans. Like I said, this was my financial mistake. This is the one that I look back on and I say that was something that really changed the way I think about personal finances, and it changed the way I think about being in debt, because that got me to where I don't ever want to be in debt again, because I know that it was difficult to get out of that hole. But once you're out of it, you feel so free, and you feel like, this is something that I can live in a way that is debt-free for a long period of time and for the rest of my life. But I know so many of you get into student loan debt, and I like that I used my particular example as, the way I'm telling you that I make financial mistakes too, because I know that a lot of you listening do have student loans as well. And I know that you feel like they just bog you down. Well, know that you can get out of them. You can pay them off. I have done it. It's not easy, but it is fulfilling when you get past it. And then also, people use their home equity as a bank. So they just continuously go back and get HELOCs and those second mortgages in order to buy things that they want or whatever. We've talked about why that's not a good thing. So that's a financial mistake. And then just a couple more. These last two are just failing to do things that you need to do. So the first is failing to plan or failing to budget. If you don't do that consistently, then that's a huge mistake, because you don't know where your money's going and you don't even know where you want your money to go. You just kind of, fly by the seat of your pants month to month, and that's a big mistake. And then failing to invest and failing to invest early. That's a huge mistake, because you won't be able to have the money that you need later on in order to retire or retire early, or send your kids to college, or do whatever you need to do in the long term. And just naturally, the less money you put in now, the less money you'll have later. So failing to invest is a big mistake. Now, enough of the negativity. How can we get over all of these mistakes? So the first thing that you have to do, you have to own your mistake. You have to be able to look in the mirror and say, I messed up. Not looking and go, they tricked me. Not looking and go, well, everybody else does this. Not looking and go, well, somebody said that was a good idea or whatever. No, you have to take responsibility for yourself and the financial mistakes that you have made. And until you do that, you're not going to be able to attack it with the veracity that you need to, because you'll always be looking to give somebody else the blame. And you'll always be looking to say, well, it's not really my fault. Well, yes, it's your fault. You signed on the dotted line, or you swiped the card, or you did whatever you did or failed to do in order to get into this place. So you must own your mistakes. That's the first thing I had to do with student loans. I had to look at it and go, even though I had heard, oh, it's not bad debt to have. It's good debt because you're getting your education. And though I had heard, well, you don't have to pay it back. You can just make the minimum payments. And though I'd heard, well, everybody does it. Everybody gets student loans. Though I had heard all of those things, what did I still decide to do? I still decided to say, I did it. I took out the student loans. Therefore, I am going to pay for them. I am going to pay them off and do it with a lot of intensity. And saying that you made a mistake is a big step forward, because look, even though you make a mistake, that's not to shame yourself. This will just remind yourself that you're not perfect and that you have things in your life that you can learn from as well. And that's what all these mistakes are, is they are learning opportunities for each and every one of us. And then once you go through the process of saying, yep, it's my fault, then you have to forgive yourself for making the mistake. Because a lot of us have this tendency, and I have this, where I will beat myself up really bad about doing things that I shouldn't have done. And I'll be really frustrated about the situation that I get myself into. And so in order to get over that, you have to forgive yourself. You have to allow yourself to move forward and move past the mistakes that you've made, and understand that the windshield is larger than the rearview mirror. When you are, having to look forward and continue moving forward, you have to remember that the past is something you can see, but you can't see it as big or as clearly as the things that are right in front of you. And you can't go back. You can't. Life is something where you're always in drive. You are never in reverse. You can't go back and change the old things. You can only continue to move forward. So you have to forgive yourself. And your past just doesn't determine your future. Just because you did bad things or made mistakes in the past doesn't mean that you have to make mistakes in the future. That's just not the case. And you can use your mistakes for positive things in the future instead of negative things in the future, because you can allow yourself to learn from them, like I said earlier, and you can build goals and dreams off of those mistakes that you made. Like me falling into student loan debt and making that particular choice to go into student loan debt, then the goal that I made for the future and the dream that I made for the future was, I am never going to go into debt again, because that was absolutely dumb. I'm not going to go into debt for anything but a mortgage from here on out, because I don't want to pay on this particular student loan. I don't want to pay interest to somebody else. I want to be able to keep all of my income. And so it allows you to make those goals and have those dreams moving forward, and have something that you can shoot towards, instead of just looking back and saying, man, that was stupid, that was stupid, that was stupid. We don't want you to get that negative self-talk. You want to have positive self-talk and be able to positively look towards the future and say, I can make a difference in my future based on what I've learned in the past. So forgiving yourself it's a huge deal once you make these types of mistakes. And then you have to let your mistakes motivate you. Like I said, you can build these goals off of it, and you can look forward from the particular mistake that you've made, but you have to be motivated by it. And it has to be something that makes you want to act, and makes you want to have a plan, and makes you want to do the correct things from then on out. Because if it does not motivate you, if it wasn't substantial enough, or you didn't care about it enough to let it motivate you, then you're not going to do anything about it. And here's a really good example. A lot of people get apathetic when it comes to their debts. They just say, oh, well, I just have this debt, and I'm just going to have this debt, and I can't really do anything about it, and blah, 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 right? They use all of these excuses. They know that it's bad, right? But they haven't gone through these steps. Maybe they've owned it. Maybe they have, okay? And maybe they've even forgiven themselves for it. But they're not allowing it to motivate them to do something about it. They're not allowing it to make a change in their lives. And you have to look at the mistakes that you made. Like I said, you can forgive yourself, but forgiving yourself doesn't mean looking at it and going, it's okay. No, to forgive yourself means it was bad, it was wrong, but I'm still going to move forward. It was bad, it was wrong, but it's not going to define me. And the way you cannot let it define you is you can let it motivate you. And then what you have to do once it motivates you, you have to get to work. You have to do something about it. You have to make a change. You have to turn around. There's this idea in Christianity of repentance, right? And repentance is turning from your ways and basically a 180, doing the opposite, right? Changing your heart, changing your attitude, changing your actions. That's repentance. Well, in a similar way, financially, you need to change your mind, change your attitude, change your heart, change your actions, turn around and do something different. I got into student loan debt. Well, what do I have to do? I have to pay off my student loans. And so I went from being somebody who was okay with going into student loan debt. I had to turn around, and now I'm the guy who preaches to you and who lives out in my own life, not going into any debt at all. And so that is so vital that you have to go to work afterwards. You just can't stand idly by while life passes and you're not making any progress. You have to do something about it, especially if you've gone into debt of some type. Because that debt's just going to be there until you get it paid off. Or, if you're constantly breaking the budget, if you're constantly not doing your part in keeping your budget together, then you're not ever going to be able to make headway. Or if you're failing to invest or save, and you continue to not invest or save, then you're not going to get anywhere forward. Even though you know that's the wrong thing, you're not going to be able to get to where you want to get in the long term because you're not making decisions today to do that. So you have to end up making those sacrifices, because something you had done previously is you made some kind of decision or sacrifice. You gave up one thing for the other. Like you gave up, not overspending for overspending, or you gave up, investing for not investing and spending the money, or you gave up, paying for school because you worked or you got the scholarships or the grants, or you saved up money before you went or whatever. You gave up that to go into student loans. Now you have to do the exact opposite. You have to lay down those mistakes and do something that's going to get you where you want to be. And so, like being in student loan debt, now you have to say, student loan's bad. I'm going to be intentional about getting out of debt. I'm going to make the steps that I need to make in order to get to where I want to be in the long term. And then after you've done the work, after you've been motivated, after you've done all of these things, you've owned it, you've forgiven yourself, you've worked at it, all these things, then you need to tell your story to others. I'm telling my story to you right now, right? But you need to tell your story to others. My parents, for instance, taught me a lot of life lessons. They taught me a lot of things about how life works, how life is going to be moving forward, how, things aren't always going to be perfect and you have to work through some things. And I plan on doing the same with my children. So when you do make a financial mistake, don't just use it as a learning opportunity for yourself. Use it as a learning opportunity for your children and for your family as you talk to other people, and use it as a learning opportunity for your friends if you have a conversation about something and the mistakes that you've made or the mistakes that they're currently making, and you can speak into their lives as well. So make sure that you tell your story. And again, don't be regretful of what you've done. Don't regret it. Make the change and move forward, because the rearview mirror is small, the windshield is huge. Look out of the windshield, continue to move forward. Don't spend all your time just thinking about the past, because that will eat away at you. Don't regret the things that you've done. Make the changes and allow yourself to be forgiven for what you've done, and continue to move forward with a lot of intensity and intentionality. But let's not lie, big mistakes do hurt. So you can't deny that when you have to address big issues, then your chest gets a little tight. You're uncomfortable with addressing huge issues because it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's easier to address the small things. But you can't go back. So look forward and focus on the things that you can do to move the needle, and the things that you can do to push forward in your financial life. Focus on the light at the end of the tunnel. For these big things, you have to have a plan, like the financial action plan, that you can work through and know that if I just do this plan in the way that it's laid out, then I will be able to get over this thing. And you have to attack hard. You can't just wallow in the debts that you're in. You can't just wallow in your bad habits. You have to make changes. You have to have good financial habits that you build throughout doing a particular plan like the financial action plan, and just continue to push, 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 and be really intense with how you go about changing your financial habits and your financial life. And the way that you choose to go about attacking something should not change based on the size of the mistake. So, based on the size of the mistake, you should still be able to own that mistake. You should still be able to forgive yourself. You should still motivate yourself. You should still work through it, and you should still tell your story. You should still do all of those things, even though something may be really big or something may be really small. The big things honestly make the best stories, and the big things make the most motivation for other people. If they know that you've gotten over something big, it gives them hope to do something for themselves that is big. And so allowing yourself to tell those stories is so huge. And the bigger the thing is, the bigger motivation you can give to other people. And then you have to understand that big mistakes are going to take time to get over, and working through it is going to be a much longer process when it's something big. If it's $150,000 in student loans because you went to medical school, or you went to law school, or whatever it may be, it may take you a little more time to get over that thing. That thing is going to be something that you have to work at for a long period of time. But again, that can be such a great story of triumph once you are over it, once you're past it. But your motivation has to last longer. You have to allow yourself to continue to be motivated and not burn out. And you can look at the video I did yesterday on how to keep from burning out, and the things that you can do to keep yourself from hitting a wall in a financial plan that you're working through. And then you have to keep your why in your purview. Obviously, you have to be able to look at the reason why you're working through a plan and why you want to do what you're doing, and focus on that, and be able to continue to push towards that why over and over and over again, day by day. And then you have a lot more likelihood of burning out, but you don't have to. And the way that you don't, as I laid out in yesterday's video, is focusing on the future, focusing on that why, focusing on the light at the end of the tunnel for you. So even if you do have something big or have made a big financial mistake, you can get out of it. And to be honest, a lot of us haven't made big financial mistakes, although some of us have, and that's perfectly fine. You can work out of it. A lot of us have made a lot of small to moderate sized mistakes that can be gotten out of, but we just feel hopeless. We feel helpless. We are blaming it on other people. We haven't taken responsibility for it. We don't feel like we can do anything about it. And we have to change that mindset. We have to change that idea that that we can't get over the mistakes that we've made. No, we have to look at our mistakes in the face and meet them head on and go and attack. And you can reverse the things of the past. It's difficult. It's not fun all the time, but it makes for a great payoff at the back end of it. And so quite simply, mistakes turn into a badge of honor, because once you make a mistake, it can be something that you wear with pride, and you can tell other people, how did you get out of that mess? And you can be somebody else's motivation, and you can help to encourage other people to do good and to change their own financial lives, and that's fantastic. I mean, that's what I tried to do at the beginning of this video. I tried to wear that mistake that I made of student loan debt as a badge of honor, and say, hey, I got out of it, you can too. That's the whole idea. I've done it, you can do it too. And I know your mess may be bigger, your mess may be smaller, but you can still work your way through it. For some, it's going to take more time and more intentionality and intensity, but it can be done nonetheless. And your mistakes are going to teach you a lot about who you actually are. You're going to find out how resilient you are. You're going to realize, can I really bounce back from something? Do I have the ability to change the way that I do things? Can I change my habits? Can I change my actions? And can I get over the things of the past? And the answer to all of those are yes, but you will find out for yourself how resilient you are, how intense those feelings are in your own life. And you'll find out what you're prone to do when you're left alone, because you'll realize that when it comes down to it, you have to make the decisions to work hard and motivate yourself. And you'll realize, am I prone to make these mistakes? Am I prone to wallow in my mistakes? Am I prone to not want to act? Am I prone to getting down on myself and being hard on myself about my mistakes? Any of those things can be possible. And if you make mistakes and you get over them, it will give you huge confidence when you face financial hurdles that seem impossible. Like when individuals are going about paying off their home. Well, paying off your home seems like a really difficult thing, and it's a big thing to pay off. Your mortgage is typically the biggest debt that you'll ever have, and paying that off seems impossible. But knowing that you can get over the financial mistakes of your past and push forward can let you know that, hey, I can get over this financial hurdle too. Similarly, funding your retirement and having enough to retire on at some point seems like a hard thing to do. It seems like for a lot of people, I can't get there. I don't know how to get there. Well, if you can get over this particular place in your financial life where you don't feel a lot of hope and you can move past your mistakes, then you can look forward at retirement and say, I can get there. I can do that because I have done this other thing. I've talked before about once you've done big things, then you can do more big things because you have confidence and you have that feeling of, I can do this. I have the ability to do this because if you look at my track record, I have done it. And then also things like saving for your kids' college, which for a lot of people seems like it's out of reach, like it's something that you can't do. Oh, my kids are already 10, 12, 14, whatever. I can't really do that. And some of you can't, and that's okay. But like I said, if you've done big things, you can do more big things. So getting over your financial mistakes will allow you to look at that and go, that's a doable goal. I can get there because I can look at the why. I can keep my eye on the why and keep my eye on the prize of what the payoff of doing this particular thing is. And there are a lot of other hurdles like that financially that are not mistakes at all. But it's when things get difficult. When things get difficult, what are you going to do? When things get difficult, are you going to bounce back, or are you just going to lay in it? Are you just going to be, sad and poor pitiful me about things? You have to get up. You have to bounce back, and you have to do the things that you need to do to get back on the horse and pick yourself up financially. Because if you don't, nobody else will. So guys, just know you are not alone. Everybody's made mistakes. We've all done it. Big or small, we've all made mistakes, and we've all made financial mistakes. So just understand that the financial mistakes that you made can just be your past. It doesn't have to be your future. You can change the trajectory of your financial life, and you can clean up your messes. You just have to be really intentional and really intense, and you have to own up to the things that you've done incorrectly in order to get to long-term financial freedom and long-term financial success. So hey guys, don't forget to go down below and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like this video, hit the thumbs up. Also, leave me any feedback in the comments if you have not done so already. I'd be glad to get back with you on any thoughts or questions that you may have. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then make sure that you subscribe there and leave me a review, hopefully a good review. That'd be awesome. And then follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan. I think you can gain a lot from following me on social media. There's a lot of good stuff that I'm putting out day by day that I think can supplement this show and all of the day-by-day episodes with some different things that I'm not necessarily covering on that particular day or week. And then lastly, if you need somebody to help you build a financial plan that is specifically tailored for you, then go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and we can begin to work together building you a financial plan that is going to benefit you and help you move towards financial freedom in the long term. So tune in Monday as I begin talking about being extremely generous. And so all of next week is going to be about generosity and how we can be more generous in our financial lives. And I'm going to begin on Monday talking about how to begin and how to start small and how to do it effectively. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.